Great. So I thought I should call this as humor is human, because many people think that humor is not for me. Many of them feel that when somebody is humorous and they have got some very different characteristics and a very different talent as such, and hence it is not possible for me to do. And before I get into the session, I want to set some ground rules as such. And ground rule one is stop me and ask questions anytime you have any doubts. And the projected reason is you can clarify your doubts then and there without carrying it forward. But the actual reason is I don't have too much to present, and hence I need those time stealers. So please ask questions. And then ground rule two, whenever you have an idea or a suggestion, please let the group know about it. The projected reason is it will be useful for others and they can be benefited too. And the actual reason is you can also show to the group that you also know something. So that's very important. And the third one is sometimes I may be saying that we shall discuss separately after the meeting or offline. So the projected reason is it may not be relevant for the group and hence it may eat on others' time. But the actual reason would be I may not really know the answer. So that's the reason. So if you look at humor, who can be humorous is a big question always, right? But to me, I strongly believe that anyone can be humorous, and every single name of the 34 who was present in this meeting can actually be humorous. And is it a skill that is learnable? Yes, it is a skill that is learnable. And Anupama keeps telling me all the time, when somebody like Sridhar can be humorous, anybody can be humorous. And it's true. And I fully agree with her. And even when I asked her, saying that, what is the objective of you inviting me to speak on humor with people in the session? She said that, I want people to know that if somebody like you can actually be humorous, anyone can be humorous. And that is the reason why she has invited me to actually be part of this meeting. So, and the first and foremost thing I always say when it comes to humor is break your inhibition. I think that is most important for you to practice when you want to actually become humorous. So I'm going to quickly go through all this, and then maybe I'll come back and give you some examples so that we can do it like how we can do a workshop. How can you be humorous? First and foremost, be logical. I think when you think of humor, you need to actually think how can you be illogical. If you're thinking logical, you will be confined to one particular ring and you will not be able to come out of it, and then humor may not come. And then exaggeration helps. Whenever you look at humor, you'll find that there is some amount of exaggeration which will really make it look funny as such. Without exaggeration, it will not. And then build a suspense. So suspense actually has a very strong element when it comes to humor. Suspense is a very strong element. And finally, bring in a twist. So if you can remember these five things. First, I told you, which is breaking inhibition, and then be logical, and then exaggeration, building suspense, and if you're able to bring twist, you would be able to actually work on humor. Now, self-deprecating humor always works, because when you're trying to play humor on you, it really has a huge impact, and that's why many people, even stand-up comedians, actually make a humor on them, and it really makes very high impact. Now, where do you find humor? And this is where I think it is very, very important. Humor is all around us. And if you can look at any instance that you take, even in the meeting that we have had today, I can give you plenty of examples as to how you can look at. So one example which I often give is when a sergeant at arms, for example, starts the meeting, he actually brings in a lot of rules and regulations that we have, or the conditions that we have about Toastmasters. So I always keep saying, there was one Toastmaster or one guest who actually had come to the meeting. And as soon as the introduction, Sergeant at Arms introduction was over, the guest was standing up and was about to leave. And then when the president asked him, saying that, okay, why would you want to leave? Because the president, then he said, the Sergeant at Arms said that if you're a Toastmaster, you need to avoid sex, religion, and politics, right? And then somebody has to clarify, saying that no, you don't need to avoid sex, religion, and politics. You only have to avoid speaking about sex, religion, and politics. So even in a simple thing, which actually was a Sergeant at Arms announcement, you can actually find humor around it. And similarly, when the Sergeant at Arms introduces the president, so there is all possible ways. There is one Sergeant at Arms who introduced, saying that, can we welcome our Madam President to come and deliver on stage, right? So this actually, you can twist it any way you want, right? And how can I mean, the Sergeant says, okay, we are requesting Madam President to come and deliver on stage. He should actually be more clear saying that we want her to come and deliver the presidential address on stage. So that's how it is. So small things, you can actually find humor in everything that we interact on a day-to-day basis. So humor is all around us. Identify the pain points in life. Most of the time, the pain points of our life become get translated into humor. If you are a seasoned Toastmaster, or if you're in Toastmasters for a long period of time or reasonably long period of time, you attend humorous contests, or you witness a humorous contest, you will find out of the 10 participants, there are 7 to 8 people who talk about marriage or girlfriends. And that actually validates the point that humor can actually happen out of pain points, right? So because I'm sure that for many people, if you ask what is the pain point, they will either be talking about their spouse, marriage, or their boyfriend, girlfriends types. In fact, I remember one of the contests, out of 10 contestants, some 7 contestants were talking about 7, of their girlfriends. And in fact, 2 of them are talking about the same girlfriend also. And that is how humor actually has. And where do you find pain points? And this is, I'm happy to share this PPT with you. So, but I have got so many areas of humor that I've identified. So you can go through this and see. When it comes to family, it can be parents, siblings, children, spouse, marriage, relatives, servant maids, driver, in-laws, pets. You can actually find humor everywhere. In terms of education, for example, education, exams, school, college, students, teachers. So I'll give a lot of examples as to how I have actually built humor in this. And then in terms of technology and social media, we can look at smartphone, computer, generation gap, Facebook, WhatsApp, profile pictures, wrong numbers, marketing calls, games, autocorrect, many things actually. You can keep on looking at every aspect of your life. So if you're in traffic, you can find humor there. If you're in an interaction with your boss, you can find humor there. So you'll be able to find humor everywhere. And when you're actually bringing in humor, the presentation or the interaction becomes that much more interesting, and you'll be able to grab the attention. So for the next few minutes, let me talk about how we can, whatever lockdown we have had, for the next 5-10 minutes, I'll talk to you about how we can look at it. So one thing is very important is whether you are close to your wife or not, you have to be close to a Wi-Fi. And that's very important. I realize that is very important in this period. And then this is probably the first time in our life where we start worrying about neighbor's health more than our health. If a neighbor is healthy, and we are very happy about it. The moment a neighbor is unhealthy, we actually get perturbed about it, right? And probably this is also the first time we all are waiting to hear something negative, right? We don't want to be we don't want to be called positive. When somebody calls us negative, we are extremely happy. And whenever in the past, when corporations like, or corporates like Facebook and Twitter and all that did contact tracing for us, we felt really happy. Whereas today, when the corporation does contact tracing, we are not happy about it. And I had a very interesting experience when it came to the COVID scenario during the lockdown. I had my uncle who suddenly had severe temperature for almost 3 to 4 days, and we were also a little concerned. And I took him to the hospital, and there was so much of commotion in the society that we live, and there were almost 40 to 50 people who were waiting for us to come back from the hospital to check what had happened. And finally, when the reports came, he had a very highly severe urinary tract infection, and he had to be admitted in the hospital because it had become quite serious. So when I went and told them that it is severe urinary tract infection, people said, it's okay, thank God it's not corona. So to that extent, people actually were okay to consider heart attack, okay to consider any serious disease, but it was not COVID or corona that they were able to accept, right? So, and when it comes to resources, I'm sure there were a lot of constraints we had, because I was always thinking I was a self-made man, but the lockdown made me realize that I'm not a self-made man, I'm a self-made man actually. And whenever I keep telling when my wife keeps saying that she misses the maid so much for the last 6 months or so, and I was telling the same thing last year, and nobody was taking it correctly. So that was the issue in terms of the maid. And the online thing was another big thing which happened. I'm sure many of you would have had an experience of recruiting or enrolling yourself in many online programs. I also was one of those casualties which actually got introduced to some online programs. So as soon as the first lockdown happened, the first thing we did was to actually join for an online fitness program. I wanted to reduce my weight, I wanted to get thin, and hence I joined an online fitness program. And 21 days later, I realized the wallet had got thinner, the crowd had got thinner, I did not get thin. And with all what is available with 24 hours delivery and all that, on the Amazon, I went and bought one treadmill. I went and bought a few dumbbells and all that. But so many months later, now I realize that the treadmill is used for, especially winter now, right? It's raining so badly here. People are using it for drying the clothes, and during puja time, the dumbbell are used for breaking coconuts and all that. And that's how it is used now. Otherwise, it's not getting used. Yoga was another thing which actually, after the fitness program I tried joining, I had a very strict trainer who clearly said that if you are joining my yoga class, you cannot unmute your video. And he also had a few models like, who will come and do yoga in the best possible way, and their body was flexible. I mean, they were going from one end to the other and so easily. Whereas, for me, it was very difficult. I still remember one pose where he actually told that you put your left hand through your left leg and get it out through your right leg. And the only thing that was possible is I put my left hand and I pulled my wife's hand through the right, actually, and that was not possible for me to do. And those many things happened. And then online education was another thing. I think all of you would have encountered that, especially when you're working from home, when you have children. I have two children. And when the online schooling was announced, it was commotion because we needed 4 devices at home, myself, my wife, and two children. Not only that, and we actually had to find 4 different places where Wi-Fi was very strong. It was very difficult. Otherwise, we were not sure whose meeting we were attending. Sometimes I answer, and somebody else actually will be answering from the other side because my question was answered by somebody else in another Zoom meeting. And that's how it was. But the best thing for students was, especially in Tamil Nadu, they announced that, especially in college and one of the school 12th standard or something, they announced that all passed. Whoever was there in the class, all of them passed. In my 50 years of experience, 20 years of my education, and after the 30 years that I have spent, I have never seen boys outperforming girls or boys becoming, or having been successful the same percentage as much as girls were. Probably this is the first time because all of them were passed and both boys and girls were 100% or so. And when this happened, I realized, okay, what is the best way? Because now 7-8 months are over, schools have not started, colleges have not started. How is it possible for somebody to actually have exams maybe in the month of March or April? That's when I realized actually Toastmasters can actually give a good lead for people to conduct exams, because this is the most versatile fraternity that we have, which can actually make people feel non-intimidated but can still make them an achiever. Imagine if there is an exam. I'm sure in contests you would have seen that you can speak for 5 to 7 minutes or so. Imagine if our people are told that you can write for exam in 5 lines, maximum of 7 lines. If you're speaking less than four and a half, if you're writing less than 4.5 lines and writing more than 7.5 lines, you are disqualified. Only this much you can write. And similarly, and I mean any topic that you can write. And similarly, you can have an impromptu examination where there will be a spot topic which will be given, and the students can actually write what they think about the topic. And the most important thing is you don't need to bother the teachers to evaluate. There could be students, even though they are juniors, they can actually come and evaluate and then really make a huge difference, right? So, I mean, imagine an evaluator will come and say, this is good that you have written so much, and sometimes next time write something related to the topic. So I am giving this a see. This is not something like a stand-up or this. So you can actually find humor everywhere. Now, when it comes to Toastmasters, how do you actually put this into speech? Now, you have seen a set of things that I took, which were related to lockdown, and I put that into a speech, put that together. So, how can you actually build a speech when it comes to Toastmaster? That is something which I want to tell you. I'll give my experience as to how I did it. Once I did a speech, again, maybe I'll give this points first and then do it. So, start with one humorous thought that crossed your mind. Maybe if you found something which is very humorous and you can actually use that thought. and then squeeze as much as possible from that one thought with that illogical exaggeration, self-deprecation, suspense and twist that I told you, and then look for which group it belongs and look for similarities in the group. I'll go back to that slide again to show you what it was. Link that one item to the others in the group, and then see if you can look for similarities in other group and link that one item to the others in the other groups, and then keep the title or theme open till the end and look for internet for related humorous topics, but just take them as reference and customize it to you, but do not try to copy it as it is. Now let me go back to the title and then see how. Now, for example, when it came to the pain points, I'll tell you one of the humorous contests in Toastmasters. What I did was, I had one thought about meditation. I have only one thought about meditation as to how I can use some humor about meditation I had. And then I started looking at what all can I do in meditation. So as much as possible, I pulled out of meditation and then I wrote those scripts. And that was definitely not coming up to 5 to 7 minutes. Then I thought, okay, what can be the other topics in that group which I can look at? So I went and took up yoga. So yoga and meditation were actually closely related to the same group. So I picked up something about yoga and then I started putting that together. And once yoga and meditation was over, I did not find that also to be adequately available. Then I went into other groups. And that is when I took up something like swimming, something like sports and all that. So thereby, and even move celebrities and all that. So finally, I'll tell you what kind of a speech I created. I just remember, I told you that I started with the meditation thought. So then I said, when I turned 40, I was very curious to actually see how I can become a celebrity, because I was working all along. I've been very successful, but I never had the feeling of being a celebrity. I wanted to be a celebrity. So I went and spoke to a coach, a trainer or a coach who actually came and told me, yeah, it is possible for me to make you a celebrity in 21 days time. 21 days time, how can you actually make me a celebrity? He said, yeah, it's possible. Then I said, even a cream or a fairness cream takes more time for it to work, and how can I become a celebrity in 21 days? Yeah, it's possible. Then he came up with an example, an idea saying that people who are born in the same zodiac signs are likely to actually be having the same traits. So if you also can follow some celebrity who was born in the month you were born, you are likely to become a celebrity yourself. So I am born in the month of January. So immediately I Googled and found out the first name that came up was Bipasha Basu. So immediately there was some changes in my body and I was wondering what kind of a transformation he's talking about. And then he said, no, forget about Bipasha Basu. Let's look for another name. Then came Rahul Dravid. Yeah, then he said, okay, Rahul Dravid is the best name that you can have, because he is an inspiration, and whatever he started following, you also start following. I said, okay. The first thing that the coach found out was that Rahul Dravid went to school. He was so passionate about cricket. He went to school and attended classes with his cricket gears on, with his pad, with his gloves, with his helmet, all that on. He attended the classes. So Sridhar, you also should do the same thing when you are going to office. That's all fine. But the game that I was, or the sport that I was looking for is swimming. Then how would I be able to go that attire to my office? So then he said, okay, forget that. So you do one thing. Let's first start to learn swimming. And next day you come to the pool, he said. I went to the pool and there he was busy with so many people. And finally he came to me and said, Sridhar, I'm going out for another 45 minutes. Just make sure you are actually beating your hands and legs till the time I come back. And after that, I'll come and take it forward. I started very seriously practicing beating my hands and legs. And 40 minutes later, the coach came running and he literally fired me saying that, what the hell are you doing? I said, I'm doing whatever you told me. But I asked you to do all that inside the water, not outside the water, man. So then for a moment, something happened. And with all the preparation that I had, with all the tube around, I actually jumped into the water. Not only water came out, some people also came out. Then he said, no, swimming is not for you. Let us do something else. Then we went and found out Rahul Dravid was good at yoga also. He said, okay, yoga is the best thing that you can practice. So he put me onto a yoga master. The most important or the interesting thing that struck me with the yoga master was, as soon as he entered the yoga class, I saw the yoga master, picture of the yoga master with his leg around the neck. So I got fascinated. Maybe I'll also be able to do something like that. So I went and asked that yoga master, saying that, Master, can I also actually put my leg around the neck sometime? He said, yeah, it's possible. Why not? If you come regularly, we can do it. 1 week over, 10 days over, 12 days over. Almost 2 weeks later, I asked him, sir, I've already spent 2 weeks. Why is that I'm not able to put my leg around the neck? Because I still see my leg and the neck actually has got a distance of Chennai to Bangalore via Cochin. It's no way closer. Then the yoga master said, for the progress that you have made, Sridhar, forget about you putting your leg around the neck. If you want, you show me your neck, I will put my leg around it. And that's when I disappeared and I actually had to leave and go out of yoga class as well. Then he said, okay, why don't you look at some other celebrity? Then I Googled and found out Swami Vivekananda was the celebrity. I told my coach, yeah, rise awake and stop not till the goal. He said, shut up. First you wake up and then we will see what is happening. But when it comes to Swami Vivekananda, meditation is the best thing that you can do. So why don't you join a meditation class? You'll not believe, in the very first day itself, I had almost 2 hours I was able to sit in silence. And that's when the meditation teacher came and told, Sridhar, wake up. It is okay if you are sleeping, but don't snore. And that's what happened. And almost 3, 4 days later, suddenly when I closed my eyes and I was sitting, I felt I was levitating. I was just going up in the air, and suddenly I realized that I have actually got what I wanted to achieve in meditation. And I slowly opened my eyes and I saw 2 people lifting the bench that I was sitting, so that they wanted to clean the room, and they shifted me to another room where I could sit and meditate. So meditation also didn't happen. So finally, all this didn't work. I actually left that after 18 days, 19 days, 20 days over. And 21 days later, I found the change happening. The coach left me and ran away. So when I was leaving the coaching center, I stood in front of the mirror and asked this question to myself, Sridhar, what is happening? Then the image replied to me saying that, Sridhar, why do you have to chase somebody else and run behind somebody else and see that you want to become a celebrity and live a life in disgrace? I think the best thing is for you to start living with grace. If you're able to live with grace, it can really be great for you. And from that time, for almost 2 to 3 years, sincerely, I've been trying to live with grace. But two people are not allowing me to do that. One is my wife, and the second one is Grace's husband. So this is how I constructed the speech. Now you can understand, right? So I had one thought of meditation, and then I kept moving from meditation to yoga, yoga to swimming, swimming to Rahul Dravid, Rahul Dravid to Bipasha Basu, and then coined that together into January born, and then I created the whole speech. So this is how you can actually make use of what you have. You can actually put things together, and you'll be able to contribute and create. So I made speeches on marathon. I've made speeches on friends, and I've made speeches on office things. So in small things, what I encounter, I used to actually take it and prepare speeches. So I will leave it at this point of time, though I have a couple of points to say about delivery and all that. Maybe it will be good for me to take some questions, and I'll be happy to address if you have any.
Yes, Sridhar. We have two questions. So the first question is asked by Jairaj. He wants to know that how do we incorporate humor in the workplace?
Yes. So, see, I have been in the corporate over the last 25 plus years, and I have seen if you bring in humor at work, it really makes a huge impact and makes a huge difference. People look forward to interacting with you. Now, again, when it is workplace, you cannot make silly humor as such, but everybody loves to be humorous. In fact, I had a foreign visitor some months back, and when he had come, so we were getting delayed. The presentation was taking a longer time, and his turn was about to come. And when we were about to break for lunch, he was restless, and he somehow said, "Should I finish my presentation? Should I finish my presentation?" I just actually told him, saying that, you are a guest who have come from Singapore. We'll be very happy to make you present. So you please go ahead and take as much as time as you want, but we will not leave in 5 minutes for lunch, I told him. So it actually broke the whole thing there, and people burst into laughter, and people enjoyed that. And they really enjoyed that particular comment, and it was very light, and it went on very well. So similarly, in every aspect of work that you're doing, if you can find something which can actually make the whole thing lighter, it will really be useful for you to create a great bond with people. Even with customers, we actually can work with play with words and pull out what kind of things are there. It could be a lot of common topics which is relatable, and you can actually bring humor out of it.
Thank you, Sridhar. We have another question. So it is from Anil Sahu. He's asking, is Toastmaster equal to Laughter Club? And today is his first day. He's the guest in this meeting today.
Yeah, so it is not Laughter Club. Now, I mean, because I wanted to impress upon the impact of humor and how you can find humor in all aspects. Toastmasters, humor is one aspect of Toastmasters. And most of the winning speeches you will find, say 20 to 30% at least, will have some humor in that. Thereby, the connect with the audience will be very good. And then from then on, you go on to talk about the messages also, and that is how it is. It's not a laughter club. It's definitely not something where you actually keep going with series. Today, being an education session, I prepared this, and hence I just thought I will rattle with all what I prepared for this session.
So I believe the forum is now open for questions. So anyone, if you have any questions to ask, please feel free to unmute yourself.
Arshil, I have one question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sridhar, thank you so much. That was a very informative. Like someone who is trying to just begin their journey of humorous journey, this is a really, really good resource that you shared. But my question would be, like, we're very skeptical when we are starting on this journey of trying to be humorous, whether it'll fall flat, whether it'll really go well with the audience. So how is it that, like, was it totally a 100 on 100 when you started it off? Or were there challenges? How did you keep yourself motivated to keep trying and doing it again and again so that, you reach that stage that people actually fall for it every single time?
I try it all the time. So even at home, I keep actually trying this, whether it works or not, because home is the best place where you can actually be. You can try, and you'll have the most critical comments coming from there also. And sometimes they'll burst into laughter. Something works and something do not work. That's one. And second thing is Toastmasters is such an open forum where you can come and try, and you will not feel intimidated at all. And what I do is whenever I get an idea, next Toastmaster session, I come and take a table topics and speak on that, whatever is the topic. Irrespective of the topic, I want to try that humor. Somehow I'll try and link it and bring that particular topic around and then try it. And depending upon the response, I will know whether it is going to work or not. And then if it is falling flat, then I will see what can be done to make it better. If it is working well, then I will see how can I actually shine it or polish it and see to make it even better and more impactful and use it in another speech. And then I'll again try in some of the roles that I play. So in everything that I do, even when I do an accounter role or a G role or an evaluator role, I'll try and pick up at least one or two lines of humor in that, or a presidential address, anything for that matter. If you're giving, just keep trying. Some of them will not work, but it's okay. And people don't remember the failures that we have, but if you are able to make it successful, then people will remember that, and you will actually start getting it. It's like building the muscles. So the more you keep trying, the more it will open up.
Thank you, Sridhar. I will definitely try to incorporate that. Hope that keeps me motivated till I get there.
Yeah, but don't worry. People, especially in Toastmasters, like place where people want you to be successful. So, the smallest thing will be appreciated. So it's okay if you fail.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Would somebody want to try on any of the topics? Anything here? If you're able to see things on the screen, would you want to try and see if you want to attempt on any topic?
We have another question
Yeah,
from
please.
Jairaj. Yeah. So what keeps driving you to be a part of Toastmaster? becoming the CEO of the company is goal in life. Having achieved that goal, what keeps motivating you to be a part of Toastmasters?
Yeah. See, Toastmasters, interestingly, what I understood and realized is that it gives a good framework for us to actually put our thoughts. Toastmasters made me realize it's not about what I am thinking, but it is all about the audience. So every preparation, maybe before I was a Toastmaster, it used to be, what kind of thoughts, what kind of inspiration I can actually take to people. But one day when I joined Toastmasters, I realized when four people speak about the same topic, for example, positive attitude, all of them speak about the same topic, but one person makes it extremely impactful, the other person doesn't. And then I realized it is the connect that the person brings in with the audience that makes him a successful speaker. Whereas the other person, with all the content or strong content that he had, if he's still not able to actually make an impact, he will not be able to drive the message successfully. So I realized people wanted an imperfectionist. They didn't want somebody to come and preach. They wanted to see somebody who's like me. So if I talk about my mother, they should be able to relate to their mother. If I talk about my boss, they should be able to relate to their boss. If I'm able to bring that kind of relevance in the communication that I bring in, it will be very successful. That is what Toastmasters taught me. And even mentoring, when it happened, they never came and intruded, or they never came and intervened in my subject expertise that I had, right? Suppose if I'm going to speak about healthcare industry today, my mentor never spoke about why are you speaking like this about healthcare industry. What he said was, okay, this content, how can you put in the Toastmasters framework so that you can have a good opening body conclusion, you can have humor here, you can actually have a final message here, you can have a punchline here, you can have this kind of a delivery. So they were able to give a good framework for me to do it. Now I took all that and started implementing it in work life also. So every time, I'm not trying to boast myself, but in the organization that I've worked in Allergan 21 for 21 years, I worked, and now people wait for me to speak. And even when there are 6, 7 other people, directors who come and present, and I was one of the sales and marketing directors at that time, people wait for me to come and present. And all I do is to speak for 5 to 7 minutes. That's all. And I will make sure that how can I make a huge impact in their mind? What kind of points which I can bring in, which will really make them feel connected with my speech? I will tell you, I just put 2 days of effort in one of the conferences in 2012, where we had 111 people who were achievers who had come in. Everybody, all 6 other directors who came and spoke about great, how the year was and how achievement was recognized and all that. You know what I did? I just went up to the stage and I rattled all 111 names. I had by hearted the names, putting effort for 2 days. And I said, today is your day. Starting from Abdul up to Yusuf, A to Y, I rattled all the 111 names and I told them, it is your day. Make the best of what is available today. All the very best. And I came down from the stage. I got a standing ovation for more than 5 minutes. So, I mean, it made me think differently. Not that I'm saying that's the best presentation that I could have made that day, but because I was able to think different, I was able to grab the attention of people. So, that way Toastmasters has really been a great influence in my life. And even today, if I have to come and practice something, see, like this, suppose if I have a 40 minutes practice session today, I don't think I'll be able to get this anywhere else. And I have the opportunity to interact with people and I get to know more people, and that's how my journey continues.